You're here. I know last.
Yes, okay. You mean open with a prayer?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, let us pray. Gracious and merciful Father, thank you for this day. What a blessing it is that we can come together on this thing called the internet and all the software and the hardware to use to that you've given put in the minds of men and women too, I would say, to create this in technology for us to do this. And what a blessing, Lord. And it's still blossoming, AI and everything else, Lord. So most importantly, thank you. And how do we thank you for this unspeakable gift of salvation, Lord? And we pray that we continue to do what's pleasing in your eyes, Lord, and that are indeed a true child of God, Lord. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thanks, Harry. And God bless you.
Thank you.
Well, welcome everyone to another Enduring to the End program. It is a privilege that I can spend the Lord's Day with you all, and we can talk about various Bible verses, all things tracting, all things witnessing, words of encouragement, Bible verses that come to mind, and things that can help us get the message out, because we've been learning so much from the Bible. And as Harry mentioned, it really is amazing that God has blessed us with so much teaching. Sometimes I go on the E Bible Fellowship YouTube channel, and there's so much hours and hours of study. There's a Revelation series that Chris just did that opened up, and it's on YouTube. And I just hit play all, and I go to bed. And sometimes when you wake up in the middle of the night, you can hear a very faithful teaching on, and it's really a blessing. It's really a blessing. So before I begin, does anyone have anything that they would like to share? Any Bible verses, any stories, or any incidences that they've had throughout the week? I know we've had a super cold week, and I went out tracking this yesterday. I think it was 14 degrees outside, and I had to pack it in after a while because I stopped feeling my toes, and there weren't too many people out there. And I thought about a Bible verse that I'd like to share, and it's Second Timothy chapter 2. I'll read from verses 1 through 7, and it's kind of interesting. I was talking to a like-minded brother, and he said that they had to protect themselves from ICE. In my mind, I was thinking ICE, the federal agency. No, ICE meaning the cold. And since it's interesting in the Bible, we are supposed to be very careful when we study the Bible that if you see a word, you really want to check what the Strong's number is, or the original Greek or the original Hebrew, because if you read a word, it may not necessarily be the word that we think it is. And so I'm going to look at this verse, this word hardness. Hardness. This is Second Timothy chapter 2. I'm going to read verses 1 through 7. Thou therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men, who shall be able to teach others also. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Jesus Christ. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of life. In italics it says affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. And if a man also strive for masteries, yet he is not crowned, except he strive lawfully. The husbandman that laboreth must be first partaker of the fruits. Consider what I say, and the Lord give thee understanding in all things. And I was thinking about soldiers, and a man that warreth they don't entangle themselves with the affairs of life. And I thought about someone who's away at sea. It's very hard to cook a meal for your family if you're thousands of miles away on a ship, or to really handle the things at home when you are away in war. And, some of that just came to my mind when I was, outside, passing tracks in really cold weather, that we're going to endure hardness. And that hardness, I believe, has to do with affliction. And spiritually speaking, we're going through a time now where we have a message that's really right on the money. It's right there, right for all to see. And I thank God that we're in a ministry where we can share this message. And the doctrines that God has refined us with have been so fine tuned as He continues to correct us. But they seem to be very fine tuned to the point where, God is sending more verses, to really confirm and give us comfort during a time of death when there's hell on earth. I see a hand raised. Miss Louisa, please go ahead.
Hello,
Hi,
can you hear me?
loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Okay, yeah, okay, hold on a second. Let me turn my lights on. Yes, last weekend we got like, I wondered how many inches, maybe 20 inches of snow.
I think 10 to
Uh,
14.
yeah, but I had a neighbor who was also my friend. She was in her 90s and just passed away.
Mm,
So I thought, okay, they posted the announcement. Okay, they gave the schedule. First was the funeral home, and then followed by the church service, and then the last one was the burial. And I thought if it was going to snow, I'm going to make it to the first one, okay, to make sure I did it. So when I went, um, it was not too cold, but I barely made it. But mostly the close relatives were in there, and I said to the worker that I'm not going to do viewing because when I viewed my mom, I got a nightmare. I said, but I knew it was my conscience that bothered me because I did not wait for my mom. I left her, before she died. But anyway, she was, overseas, so I had to fly back. And thank God my boss allowed me to go back. So right within 3 days, turned right back. And then my nieces were saying, oh, she looks so nice. And I said, and I didn't want to view. Okay. If you remember my, late husband, you weren't at his funeral, but the two of us agreed we were not going to be viewed. Now, about this neighbor, when after Stanley died, I was showing her the cemetery picture of Mr. Stanley's. And she said, I'm scared. I'm scared. Don't show me that. I don't like it. So, but I think I told her I didn't want to be viewed. But anyway, I gave a tract to the staff, okay, the lady who was taking cards from people and put them in a bag. So she took 2 cards from me. I wrote one to her children and grandchildren. The other one I wrote to her siblings. And then I started giving out tracts to here and there in the hallway. And then I thought I would come out and wait for people to come out, so I was standing outside the building. And then I thought only like maybe 5 people came out. I said, let me check inside to see if there were any more people in there. So I went back in and I saw one of the most beautiful couple about in their 20s. The lady got tears all over. And then the guy was holding her, and it was so sweet. And I said, "You're a family, right?" She said, "Granddaughter." So I gave her the tract and the boyfriend, perhaps, or they're a young couple, but beautiful couple. And then I encouraged them to just go to the computer, no more church, there was a time we had to be in church. I said I went to I was baptized by the same church as your grandmother's, and they had a service across the street, so I didn't go to the service. And it was Episcopalian church where I was baptized overseas. So anyway, so I talked to them, and then she was holding the tract. She said, "You want me to give to the rest of the family?" I said, "Yes." And I gave her maybe 10 to 15 more, and she quickly ran them into the viewing room, and then came out. And then I encouraged the young fellow, the boyfriend. I said, just go to the computer. And anyway, I just shared as much as I could. And then I thought, I'm going to go to the Chinese supermarket to get, as usual, my soy milk. And guess what? The crowd, I never saw so much crowd. And I was wondering, where am I going to give out the Latino tracts, the ones in Spanish? And I had the Spanish, I had a few Chinese tracts. And these Spanish people, they were so appreciative. And, I saw Guatemalans and Mexicans. And at one point I said, who can read Spanish? And the young lady raised her hand, and she took the tract from me, but she could not speak English. Okay. And she does not have a cell phone. So I
Right.
said, you have a computer at home? She said, yes. I said, go to the computers and study. But anyway, that's most of my tracks went there. So
That's a
I said,
wonderful story, Miss
and
Louise.
then there was a tea shop. And then I was going to take the picture with the young workers, and they were 17. And then they said, okay, they were excited. They wanted to take the pictures with me. I said, no, 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 you're 17, you're underage. They said, it's okay. I said, your parents can come after me. But I learned that from December, when the Ben Salem, the high school had a Christmas party, and I was giving Christmas concert, and I was giving out tracts. So finally I was stopped by one of the teachers. She
Yeah, I
said, "This
remember that.
school, these people are
Living.
underage. They're 17."
Yeah.
So then I know I shouldn't take pictures with underage people, because they can come after me.
I
But
actually
it
went to
was a,
Bensalem
it
High
was
School.
a Saturday well spent. Okay, and thank God. And they're very receptive. And so anyway, that was my story. So thank you.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. If
Mhm.
I go to a funeral and you're bringing tracks, Miss Louisa, that's commendable because but if I'm going to a funeral, I would have a lot of uh how do I say I don't know if it's fear, but man, whew, yeah, I see someone right takes guts. I tell you, it's amazing that when you go somewhere, you're thinking, how can I make this a blessing? And I'm so glad that you shared this story because the next time I go to a funeral, I think I need to bring some tracks with me. And maybe I'll have them in my breast pocket. I don't know if I'll whip them out because you got to read the room. you know, you got to read the room. And Miss Louisa, one thing that you've taught me is that boldness is rewarded. And I think the reward is the fact that you were able to give the tracks. And then the young lady said, would you like me to give these to the other folks? So it was like a force multiplier because you brought the tracks, because you shared them, and she gave tracks to other people. We don't know who God's elect are. And even if no one took the tracks, the fact that you had them available and you're so sweet, it's hard to say no to you too. You have a strategic advantage, Miss Louisa, where you can present tracks and it really worked out well. And that's really a blessing. And I think when we have this program, a lot of us wouldn't do that. A lot of us would not even think of doing that. And you telling this story now plants a seed where we can consider, hey, maybe I should bring some tracks with me. I'm going to a funeral. What better time to use this as an opportunity because there's people there. There's people there, right? And thank you for sharing that story about the woman who passed away. I don't know if she was in the church or not, but you told me that she got baptized during that time, and more than likely she was a church member. So many people who are in the church are around us, and we're living in the day of judgment, and they have no idea. I mean, you could see the headlines of all the craziness going on, and it would just be like, wow, what do you think's going on? And they'll tell you just about everything, except for, well, it could be judgment day. It could be the wrath of God, you know, coming down on the earth and dividing it. So I'm really thankful that we have a program like this where we can talk about these wonderful things, and we can encourage one another, and we can endure hardness as a soldier. And some of that hardness is going to be presenting tracts at times where we know there's lots of people and it may not be welcome. You might be passing out tracts at a festival and they see you there and they're like, come on, what why are you here? you know they'll ask you, what are you doing here? And these are just moments where you have to seek the Lord's strength, and we should not be looking at the face of men or be intimidated by any means. So thank you for sharing that. A couple of things to discuss. Jeffrey, forgive me. I hope you're doing well by God's grace. Do you happen to have anything that you'd like to share or give just a general update about the status of the last time we talked about the trip, if you do?
Uh, Hi Gary.
Hey,
Um, no new status update. We're continuing to chug along and work, make our plans for the trip. So nothing really substantial other than I guess the deadline to join is around the corner.
okay. Thank
So
you. We'll keep that in
so
prayer. So, folks,
mhm.
please pray for this trip. Anything else, Sir Jeffrey?
Not at the moment. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. So please pray for that trip. I can just imagine the physical condition there, the heat, the food, the water quality, just a new environment, and you have like-minded friends out there standing on their feet, passing tracks. We would want to beseech the Lord to give those folks strength and encouragement and to endure as a soldier hardness, because I'm sure some of you may have passed out tracks, one time or the other, and sometimes your feet can start to hurt or your lower back can get tight. Funny story, I was passing out tracks 2 weeks ago, and one of my tracks fell. The guy did not take the track, but he insisted on picking up the track for me. And I said to him, "Thanks so much. How did you know my back was killing me?" And he and I had a nice little giggle, and he walked away, and I told him, "May God bless you." So sometimes somebody may not take a track, but they're watching you, and they see that you're standing out there, and some people appreciate it. So if someone doesn't take a track from you, it doesn't mean that they're they're not one of God's elect. It just may mean that God just didn't move them to take the track, but maybe they saw your shirt. Maybe they saw your "Why is the World So Divided" shirt. So it's always good to have those shirts available if you're going to grab your groceries, or if you're out and about and you have the courage to wear your shirt. It's really a blessing. I know the weather's a lot colder now, so having like an e-Bible Fellowship hoodie, that would be great. Now, this is not any official request for you to make a request for that. I know we do have a team. The last time I made a statement about what was available. I have no new information, and neither can I affirm if there's any hoodies available at the moment. But if you do need the artwork, you can send an email to info@ebiblefellowship.org, and you can make a customized garment, because it'd be nice to have a garment that can handle the wind and the rain. So the hoodies are really good. But if it's raining outside, they can absorb moisture and it can get pretty cold. So maybe on our wish list, we can add a multiple season garment for us. All right. Uh, February the 17th. February the 17th is the Chinese New Year parade in Flushing, Queens. Let me just type that up. And Carl, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
If it's okay with you, after I discuss this Chinese New Year parade, would you like to talk a little bit about the timeline or any events that come to mind, sir?
Sure.
All right. Let me just share my screen really quick. For those of you that are in the area, let me just give me a moment. See if I can find this. All right, here we go. So the 2026 Chinese New Year parade, it's the year of the fire horse. I thought it was just a horse. Now it's the fire horse. It's going to be March 7th in San Francisco. Carl, how far are you from San Francisco, sir?
I think it's about 7 hours, 7 hours north.
Man, what kind of state? You can travel for 7 hours. You still
It's a long state.
man. You probably go from New York to California in 5 hours, right?
By flight, yeah. But by car,
Oh, by car, 7. Okay.
yeah, flight would be maybe half an hour,
Half an hour?
45 minutes, yeah.
5 minutes. Excellent. Excellent. Do you have any like-minded friends in the San Francisco?
We have a few e-Bible listeners that live in that area.
Excellent. Do you mind sending them an email that there's a
Sure.
possibility?
Yep.
Awesome. And Philadelphia is February the 16th. So our Philadelphia listeners, if you would like to go tracting on the 16th in Philadelphia, please, let's reach out and connect. And in New York City, I believe it is the 20, I think it's the 17th. Let me see. March 1st and February the 17th. So just to let you know, this is like one of my favorite times of the year. We have the Philadelphia Auto Show that just started yesterday. It was brutally cold, and there are people who they want to see their cars. So if they're going out, we got to be out there too. And that's going to be all week, and it's going to end this Saturday. So if folks can weather the cold weather, you can consider tracking this Saturday by the Reading Terminal. It'll be the last day of the Philadelphia Auto Show. And then we also have the parade in Queens. Oh, look at this. Lunar New Year Day is Tuesday, February 17th. So there's a firecracker ceremony and cultural festival Tuesday. But on Saturday, the 21st, 2026, that's going to be the Flushing Lunar New Year Parade. So by God's grace, I'm going to work on getting some signage. We have tracks, and we'll have the "Why is the World So Divided" in Mandarin. And we hope to have some either cardboard signs that we can hang around. So we'd love to have you if you're in the New York region for that. It'll be February the 21st, which is a Saturday. And it looks like there's another parade. This can't be accurate because it says it's Saturday, February 22nd. So it must be Sunday there, because Saturday is February the 21st. So, and then there's a Chinatown parade and festival. Chinatown in Manhattan is much larger, and that's on a Sunday. I would like to go to both. So any like-minded friends who are in and around the region, you probably have my information. Please reach out. It would be my intention to go to both. And for those who don't go on mission trips overseas, this is a wonderful opportunity to track to folks who are in a different part of the world. If you give them a tract and they have loved ones, they can share that message. And so it's your window to the world. That's how I like to look at it. All right. So Carl, Are you ready, sir?
Just connecting my microphone.
Yeah, very good. I think you and I talked briefly about the day where the sun stood still. And I think that'd be pretty interesting to talk about, to see if possible, maybe this has to do with the prolonged day of judgment,
Hmm.
where the sun stood still.
Are you able to hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Microphone?
Sound great.
Good. Okay. Yeah, actually, I was thinking maybe we should just do a quick backtrack with just so people get an idea of where we get these dates. Just start with the cross and then kind of go from there because that's a pretty we won't go into how exactly it is arrived at, but it's a pretty solid date.
Which date would be that? Which date would that be, sir?
That would be April 1st when Christ hung on the cross. It was actually March 31st to April 1st.
Evening, between the evenings, right?
Right. Yeah. So it would have been the evening of March 31st. I mean, sorry, the evening, the evening of March 31st of 33 AD would have been the first part of Nisan 14. That would have started the Nisan 14 day,
Hmm,
and it would have gone until the evening portion of April 1st. Because their day starts. It's interesting how everything's a little bit offset. Like their days don't perfectly align with when our day starts. Likewise with their months and so on. So
gotcha. Would you like to share the screen, or do we have any visuals to
yeah, let me I'll pull up at least some verses just to start off with. Let's see.
I'm really thankful that during this program we can talk about things related to the timeline. Please feel free to raise your hand. I can ask questions that you probably folks would be like, "What?" Should know that. So perhaps you might have questions that could be very pertinent to the audience in relation to the timeline. And there's no question that's unacceptable, especially if it's biblical and related to the timeline. We really want to hear from you, because who knows, somebody else might have that same question and it's not being addressed, and they might be really appreciative of that. That's another thing. The new open forum program is great for that too. Maybe it's something you're discussing, something that's coming to mind when you ask that question. Someone else might have that question too.
Mhm. All right. So let me I'll go ahead and get started.
All right, please go.
Okay, so we're kind of going to start at this point in time. This is right before Jesus went to the cross, and this is just letting us know that it did occur on Passover. So in Luke 22 verse 14 it says, "And when the hour was come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him, and he said unto them, With desire I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer." So that's already letting us know that this is occurring on Passover. And when we went over the timeline series, we narrowed down that 33 AD was the only year that this could have occurred. It's a small range of time. Even if you look at secular sources, they'll
Yes,
tell you, anywhere from like 30 AD to 34 AD. It's a very small, narrow window.
it has to be. Yeah.
Right. But we know from the Bible that it was 33 AD for sure, that Christ died on the cross, and we have the date. It's March 31st. That would have been the night that he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. That was
Was that Thursday?
remember he was in agony, in an agony.
That's right.
Agony, let's see.
AGO.
Oops. Yep. Luke 22:4. So this would have been Thursday evening, March 31st. So I was about to turn into the new month, and this is Gregorian. This is based off our Gregorian calendar, a proleptic Gregorian calendar. The actual Hebrew date, since they're following the lunar calendar, this would have been Nisan 14. So in verse 43, "And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in an agony, he prayed more earnestly. And his sweat was as it were great drops of blood falling down to the ground." And so when he was in the garden, he was already suffering, and this was Passover, um, Nisan 14, but it was also March 31st. So when he actually hangs on the cross, that turns to be April 1st, and we'll actually turn over there because let's see. We know that this is how we can narrow it down that it occurred on a Friday. Let's see. The Jews, therefore, because it was the preparation that the body should not remain on the cross on the Sabbath day. Remember, that was Saturday. So for the Sabbath day was in high day. They besought Pilate that their legs might be broken and that they might be taken down. So they worship their Sabbath on Saturday. This is right before Christ had changed the Sabbath to a Sunday.
So
So
was
this is
this Friday evening? Is this Friday evening? Or is this-
yeah, I think it was getting very close to Friday evening because it was soon to be the Sabbath.
Right.
So and I believe their evenings start, I think, as soon as sun. It goes from sunset, if I recall correctly. So
Right.
yeah, so this is letting us know, and this is why most people understand they call it Good Friday. I believe they call it, there's a term Good Friday. It's Christ hung on the cross on Friday. And so to figure out each year, if you look on the calendar, for example, you're going to see, for example, in this year, April 1st lands on a Wednesday. So, if you go back, and it changes every year. So it was a matter of just narrowing down when April 1st occurred on a Friday. Or sorry, it was just narrowing down. So you could see what day it was on a Friday. Um,
Oh, I see. So you're saying all we would have to do is calculate between the evenings what would be the first of the month on a Friday between the year, I guess, from 29 AD to 34 AD.
yeah, there's there's only so many years where
Right.
where Passover occurs on a Friday.
Right.
We know we can figure out the day of Passover was March 31st, April 1st, using some math.
Mhm.
And so that means that if we know April 1st was Passover, well, that Passover would have to land on a Friday because we know it's also a Friday. So obviously it wouldn't work in this year in 2026. And this next year is a Tuesday. And so there's only so many years, right? However, this calendar, this is just a computer calendar. I wouldn't trust this because they probably use the Julian calendar going back to 33 AD. I think when you go back really far, they don't. But what we're using is a proleptic Gregorian calendar, and it's one that's tied to the celestial bodies. So there's no count. I think we've discussed this before. There's no perfect calendar. All of men's calendars are all trying to align with the celestial clock. So this is why we constantly have to make adjustments. So when we use a proleptic Gregorian calendar, we're not just walking ourselves backwards on the calendar, like going back each day, going back each year. We're actually tying it to the celestial bodies using that math. So it's not as simple as just.
Yeah. And just a side note, what a blessing it is to have someone like Mr. Camping. Even though we had to fine tune our understanding with 1988, 1994. Actually, 1988 was accurate. 1994, 2011, May 21. We can just see that when people had their calendars like the Julian calendar and we're like, oh, we needed to fine tune it. They
Mhm.
were called like false prophets.
No, yeah, they understood.
They understood that you got to fine tune these things. You have to go on to
Yeah.
perfection.
Well, what happened is the season started to drift. The Julian calendar, they had a perfect 365 and a perfect 6 hours to their calendar.
Mhm.
And over time, but it's not exactly 6 hours. That's that extra 0.25 they added to the calendar. It's not exactly 6 hours, it's 5 hours and 48 minutes. And so, we do the same thing every 4 years. We add a full day on February 29th, but really it's only 23 hours and 45 minutes, 15 minutes. So every leap year, every 4 years, we're adding an extra 45 minutes to the calendar. And over time, after a few hundred years, we have adjustments that skip leap years.
Yeah. Are we
But
got a leap year this year? Forgive me. I'm kind of.
let's see. February, nope, not this year.
Oh, we're good.
Yeah, it's the last leap year was on 2024. So that means it won't
20.
occur. Yeah, you'll see here they insert the February 29th in 2028. And that's all due to us not being able to add that extra 2422 into our calendar, because
Right.
that's 5 hours and 48 minutes that have to be added every 4 years, right? If you want to go by every year, it's 11 minutes and I think 14 seconds. And so if we're going to insert an extra day, we're inserting a full 24-hour day, but to be precise, it's only 23 hours and 15 minutes of extra time. So that's why we have to further adjust hundreds of years later and skip leap years. So the Gregorian calendar actually, with all those added adjustments, it actually makes it a pretty accurate calendar to the point where you can go back thousands of years in order to start being off by a day.
So the takeaway again is we're trying by looking at the Bible to ensure that Passover in 33 AD did actually occur on a Friday, because that would be more confirmation to know that that was the year Christ died, right?
Right. Yeah. And once you do the math to figure out Passover, it has to be March 31st, April 1st. We can actually go back, like with May 21, for example. We have the date of May 21.
Mm-hmm.
You can work backwards from May 21. I think I did it. Because we know you could start with May 21 and then go back to Passover in that year. That will land on April 1st. So May 21. So you could have 2011 be kind of an anchor point and figure out when Passover is at the cross. You can go backwards that way.
Nice. And how
So
did somebody do that, brother? Would they just
well, we
use
have
timeanddate.com?
no, we have this. I mean, this does the calculation
Calculation.
for you. You can do it for yourself, but
Yeah, we used to use timeanddate.com. It was a web-based protocol
Mhm.
that we use for timeline stuff. It's on,
Yeah,
folks.
yeah, this is definitely well, Mr. Campion, remember how he figured out that there's exactly 722,500 days?
That's right.
Well, if you just walk backwards, if you start with May 21, which the Bible lets us know that's the day of judgment, and take that piece of information from Genesis that it was the 17th day of the second month. You can use that as an anchor date and just walk backwards, and you'll also arrive at March 31st. I did the calculation, but yeah. So if we go to 33 AD,
But I have a dumb question, Carl. Why is it called ZIF/ER? I thought those months were two different names.
no, Ziph was also the name of the second Hebrew month
Oh,
as well. In the Bible, I don't think we find ER, but
oh, that's the modern. Is that the
that's the
modern
modern name. Yeah.
name? Okay,
Yeah, that's the modern name. Now, sometimes you will have like Abib and Nissan. Same, two different names, that's the same month. And the Bible uses both Abib and Nissan.
thank you.
Whereas, yeah, here so that's why it's slash. They're both the same thing. Solomon, it said it was in the second month. That's what it's called Ziph.
Gotcha.
So, but yeah, if we look in the year 33 AD, Passover is fixed on March 31st, April 1st. If we go to a different year, it calculates it at April 19th/20th. And if we look on the calendar in that year, let's see, 34 AD, it has Passover here. Well, that falls on like a Wednesday, Thursday.
That's
So
not.
yeah. So I think yeah, so Friday, Thursday, March 31st, Friday, Nissan 14. So it works in the year 33 AD. Now there might be a few other years where it does work. 32, Sunday, Monday, 31, Tuesday, Wednesday, 30, Thursday, Friday. So, in 30 AD, March, it would land on, a Friday as well there. So it's a very limited range of time. I mean, of dates. So we're just going to, without going into how, there's more information to kind of prove.
We have a hand raised. Maybe there's a question that.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Please, Ms. Evelyn, go ahead.
I was just curious, how did they know that it was Friday?
Oh, Well, we know based off this verse.
I mean, I know how we know, but how did the church people know?
Because they understood that the Sabbath day was a Saturday. So they could just read this verse and realize, okay, if he's about to be taken down before the Sabbath day, it has to be Friday.
Got it.
Because
Yeah.
it's a 6 day. It's a 6 day. So the 6 day was what in the Bible? Because he said 6 days you can work, but on the seventh day is the
His day
Sabbath.
of rest. So yes, the seventh day to them would have been the Saturday.
Okay.
That was their Sabbath. And then of course, when Christ rose from the dead, it says as it began to dawn towards the Sabbaths, plural, that's when Christ, and he didn't arise on the previous Sabbaths. He didn't rise on Saturday. He was in the tomb on Saturday. He arose Sunday, and that became the new Sabbath when he arose.
Yeah, got that.
Yeah. So we're gonna just start with this. There's other things in the Bible that prove 33 AD to be the year. And as far as like how do we know like the month, Passover always falls in the springtime because God, when they came out of the Exodus, they came out in the month of Bib. And I believe that Bib means it's the same word for corn. And I think it's been long known that that's the spring season because that doesn't sprout until springtime, right? I think that's why it's called the month of Bib.
Hmm.
If you look up that word Abib, you'll see it's used. This day came ye out in the month of Bib, and let's see. If you look up that word Abib, it means it's used as in the ear, green ears of corn. And Moses, when he's talking to Pharaoh, he says, "And the flax and the barley was smitten, for the barley was in the ear." That's that word Abib, and the flax was bold. Um, and there's also other clues that's in the springtime. Like if you go to Joshua, it talks about Jordan overflowing its banks. Let's see.
I just saw that verse. It said, "This came ye out at the month of Abib" in Exodus 13:4.
Yeah, there's another one. Yep. So there, see, God is using that month Abib. Now here it says, as they, and this is when they crossed over the Jordan,
Mhm.
and as they that bear the ark were come up unto Jordan, and the feet of the priests that bear the ark were dipped in the brim of water, for Jordan overfloweth all his banks all the time of harvest. For Jordan overfloweth all his banks all the time of harvest.
Oh, I'm such a fool.
Huh?
I thought
What?
harvest time was like after summer.
No, yeah. Let me see. Standing in heat that barely have dipped in the brim of water, for Jordan overfloweth all of his banks all the time of harvest. Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought
What's that word
Yes.
harvest in the Hebrew?
I always read that verse as, let's see.
Because I don't know. Just because it says harvest doesn't mean
Yeah,
kasir.
harvest time.
Harvested crop. See? Remaineth
Grain.
seed time and harvest. So I don't know if that really means harvest, which is um
Yeah, it also talks about the first fruits of the wheat.
right. It could be actually springing forth, and you're gathering the first fruits,
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah, because I don't know why it would mention it overflowing in the harvest time, but anyways, we can there's other information that we can put together, but we're just going to start with that date of
okay,
March 31st / April 1st without going too much into it right now.
right.
And that way we can kind of work our way from there. But this would be the anchor date. So what we're going to do is using that math, we're going to go back to the first Passover, which occurred we know it's the year 1447. And so it's going to take how many years that was, times it by the solar year. We'll get how many.
Oh.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah,
Did
you
I
see
go a little slower? What's that?
what's that for, brother? Years from 33 AD. I have 1470.
Okay.
What
Yeah,
is that?
so what we did was we started we have this anchor date of March 31st of 33 AD
Yes.
because that's when Nissan first began. We're not starting with April 1st because that's the other half.
Right.
We're starting here. and we're going back all the way to 1447 BC.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's how many years it's calculating. See, if you minus the difference,
Right.
you got to add in this case because it's -1.
No
There's
year
gonna be a
zero. Taking out the no year zero. Right, right.
Yeah, so that's how many years, 1,479 years from so if we go the other way, right? 1447 BC,
Mm-hmm.
and we go forward 1,479 years, we'll get to 32 AD, but you add 1 for no year zero, we're at 33 AD. So
Nice.
this is how many years between the two dates. So it's calculating how many years, and then it's timesing it by the actual solar year. Very precise, 2422. So it's timesing it by 365 days, 5 hours and 48 minutes and 46 seconds, whatever the exact amount is. So it's very precise. And that gives us exactly how many days took place from March 31st of the garden all the way to March 31st of the Exodus. 540,193 days, 0.2138. This 0.2138, that's almost a quarter of a day, maybe a little under 6 hours. So
That's right. It'd be 5 hours and change.
yeah. So we know how many days, so we can take that amount and we can divide it by now we have we're working with the solar calendar, right? 365.2422. And now we're going to divide those amount of days into the average lunar month. And that tells us how many months that we're working with. So here you can kind of see how we tether the solar calendar with the lunar calendar. The red is the average lunar month.
I love this. The only thing that keeps boggling my mind is why do we have to keep comparing the lunar with the solar?
Well, we're not comparing it. Well, because they're following a lunar calendar. Like the Passover is not tied to a solar calendar. See, that's the thing is Passover is tied to the moon, right? They followed the lunar calendar, which is the moon. But yet we're trying to figure out what's the Gregorian date. Well, the Gregorian date is a solar date. We already know Nisan 14 is Passover. So we're trying to figure out what Gregorian date does that fall on?
And so in order to do that, we have to kind of sit in the seat or in the shoes of what the lunar calendar system is in order to calculate or interpret that data.
Right, because this is Nisan 14. If I go back another year, this is also Nisan 14. This is Nisan 14. But what changes? It's the Gregorian date because the moon and the sun aren't perfectly aligned. And so you're always going to have a different Gregorian date within the framework of March and April.
Does that mean the moon phases? I'm looking at the moon phases that you have there, which is amazing there.
Mm-hmm.
They look like a couple of crescents there.
Yeah.
They can only be those formations based on the lunar cycle, that they're never going to deviate no matter what calculation?
It's a little animation. I'm not sure if it's exactly, but yeah, it's within we're only working within March and April.
Okay.
You can never have Passover outside June, July, because it's fixed to the springtime.
And since it's the end of the month, the lunar cycle is always going to be ready to start a fresh one.
Yeah, and you'll notice, look how many days, like, you see how it says there's a 10-day shift here? We went over that. You're never going to have more than, I think, 29 days. I think I looked. See, there you have 28. It's never going to shift because the March 31st is always that starting date. And so when we make that shift forward or backwards, it's never going to be more than, I think, 29 days.
I'm a little lost there, but I'll have to circle back to that.
Yeah, well, it just ties back to what I was just saying here with March and April.
Some of the folks here are like, I can't believe Gary doesn't get.
No, it's not easy. It's not always easy to understand, but all you need to know is that every single one of these dates always equals Nisan 14. See that?
Yes.
That's we already know that's the constant.
That's
is
right.
This what changes is the Gregorian date because of this. Because the sun is exactly 365.2422. However, the moon is 352 point something something something.
We sure neglect the moon, don't we? It's like we don't care about the moon.
Yeah, well, you can see that they're not. If the moon also if a lunar year was also 365.2422,
Some trouble.
then we'd have an exact match.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's not how it is.
Isn't that
And
amazing
so,
how God is he's just making us to do more homework, more research to make
yeah.
sure.
So this is why this math is being done. The end goal is to figure out what proleptic Gregorian date is Nisan 14 in that year. We know every year, it's tying in the solar with the lunar.
Right.
So that's the end result. So this is why when we see this many amount of days, now we're going to divide those. Those are the solar days, right? I mean, we're using a solar calendar here. We figured out how many days transpires between those 2 years. And so now we're going to divide those days into an average lunar month, which is
Yes.
right here. This is where we feed it into the lunar, and then we're given a certain amount of months here. We're given 18,292 months, and that 0.667041,
About
those would
2/3.
be that is where we're going to take that fractional month. We want to figure out what is that fractional month, right? And so we take that fractional month, we just times it by the average lunar month, and that's letting us know that's 19 days, 0.698. So almost 20 days, right?
Mhm.
But we're going to keep it in decimal format. And then we're just going to minus that same number again against the average lunar month. And we're going to get another set of days, 9.83. So on one side, you have this many amount of days. On the other side, you have this many. And if you add these two totals up, it's just going to equal the average lunar month. So we basically are finding a dividing point because we need this final number.
Why do we need that final number? Forgive me.
Well, that's the next step. So we're going to get into that right now. This final number is going to let us know we're going to round it to 10 days
Okay.
because it's closer to 10 days than it is 9 days. And so our final number is 10. Okay. So keep in mind, we went from March 31st of 33 AD,
Okay.
and we went exactly backwards to March 31st of 1447.
That's right.
Now, to us, that's what we do in any year. When we go back like 100 years, like today is February 1st, Sunday, February 1st. If we go back to 100 years to the day, it's going to be February 1st, 100 years ago, right? But when you're doing this type of thing, you can't just keep it at March 31st because there's an adjustment that needs to be made because we're tying in the solar with the lunar. We're tying in two different types of calendars together. And so that's why we have to make this shift. This 10-day shift is to sync the sun with the moon. If we were just, like I said, if we were just going backwards in time to the exact day, right? Does that make sense?
It's like I'm so close to it. It's like it's like I can taste it. So
Mhm.
in other words, when we're going back, we have the sun, we have the moon, we have this remainder of data from the month side that is being reserved, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why do we need it again? Just what's the purpose?
Well, the purpose is to finally give us this Gregorian date, right? For when Passover occurred.
Hmm.
Now, keep in mind,
And
we're
and if we didn't have that remainder of 9 or 10 days, would that affect our formula in terms of understanding the lunar solar
well,
comparison?
well, this number changes every year. Like the previous year is 21 days that you need to do a shift
And why does that shift every year? Is it because
because it's based off
the
because
positioning
yeah,
and the
it has to do again with again,
synchronization?
yeah, remember the sun 365.2422 and the moon is 352 or
And when I was
three-
a kid, I used to I used to sit in the back seat and I would hear the turn signal of my car and I would look at the brake light of the other car and it would be off, but every once in a while they would get a little closer and then for maybe two flashes they would match
yeah,
and they would then out sync again. So what you're saying is when we're looking at all these different years, their
yeah,
synchronization is like a little bit off every time, but they
yeah,
can get a little close, but then they
yeah,
get a little farther away, right?
exactly. Yeah, that's why you have some years where there's barely a shift. Like here, it's only a 2-day shift.
Gotcha. Because it's getting kind of closer
Yeah.
in terms of their cadence. It's like
Yeah, and you ever hear like the moon will be the closest it's been this month to the Earth,
right.
So there's a lunar year is 354.37. So you can see that's quite a difference from 365.2422. Right? Now remember Passover is tied to the lunar calendar. They're observing Passover based off the moon, right? So if we want to figure out when is Passover based off the sun, we need to do this math to figure out what day it lands on. So again, we went from March 31st, 33 AD. And you don't have to understand exactly how it all works,
Right. But this is so
Uh,
hard, Carl, because
Good.
one of the few doctrines that I always felt very detached from. And here we're able to kind of chew in and really jump into it. So it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a little involved with the math, and stuff like that. But March 31st, 33 AD to March 31st of 1447. So we went back exactly to the day, 1,479 years, right?
Yes. I got
Okay.
kicked out of math class, by the way, folks. So
I think most of us did.
I thought you could say, I think we all know that.
So we're now at March 31st of 1447, right?
Okay.
We went back exactly 1,479 years to the day.
Okay.
Okay. So now that we have this date of March 31st, 1447, then we'll apply that 10-day shift. And so we'll go backwards from March 31st. What's 10 days before March 31st?
March 21st.
March 21st, yeah. So in this case, we go backwards 10
That's
days.
the one thing, Carl, that I heard. I was watching your video.
Yeah.
It says we're at a crossroads, whether we can go forward 10 days or back 10 days. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
You have an option to go 10 forward, 10 back. Could you explain?
Yeah. Well, so there's you either have to in order to figure out Passover, it's now Mr. Campion had figured out that Passover had to have occurred on March 21st. And we can prove that with the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
It couldn't be 10 days forward. But you do have two options, and it's one of those things you just ruled out. You ever hear of the process of elimination, right?
Yes.
So in this case,
calendar give me the option to get it wrong. That's what I want to know.
Yeah. So, but he was also able to determine not only is Passover, the first Passover began Thursday, March 31st. He was able to determine that Passover can never fall before March 21st. If the very first Passover occurred on
Is that
March
because
21st.
of the synchronization that we were kind of talking about? Where
Yeah, it has to do with the spring equinox, how that it start as soon as spring starts. So the spring equinox occurs every year around the same time.
Mhm.
And so Passover is fixed to the spring equinox.
Okay.
And this, even Jews, I think, realize, yeah, Passover is always in the springtime, and they've been keeping track of Passover in their own way. So, so I'll tell you why we can rule out what would be the other date. So if we're working with March 31st of 1447 BC, what's our other option? We go 10 days forward from March 31st. What would we land on?
April something.
April 10th, because 10 days forward from March 31st would be April 10th. We can rule out April 10th. I'll show you how we can rule it out. I did the math here, and basically, if it was April 10th, it wouldn't fit with the count in Joshua.
Gotcha.
So I think I went into detail. I'm not sure in that one video.
I think I remember that.
Yeah. So in other words, Mr. Camp, I finally figured out, like, how could he be so sure it was March 21st and not April 10th? Because you're given two different options, because you're adjusting the solar calendar to align with the lunar. And in this case, it was a 10-day adjustment to get that precise date for when Passover occurred. Now, keep in mind, we use the months March, April, because that's just part of our solar calendar that we follow, right? They're just labels, that's our month is March, but it helps us if we need a way to identify what part of the year,
I
that
see someone
Passover.
in the comments wrote camping was an engineer, so good for Carl. Good job, Carl. May God bless you and continue to give you wisdom. If Mr. Camping was around, he'd say, my.
Yeah, actually, I think somebody else helped him with this to figure this out. I was listening to an old open forum, and he mentioned somebody else had mentioned with the 722 500 days.
Yeah,
He had some help with that. So
very good.
so now that we have this date for the Passover, let's see if we can fit it in. We're gonna do something here. So if this date is Passover, March 21st, 22nd, that means that when God came during the time of the Exodus, when he came to bring that last plague. I think that was Exodus 12. So this shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year too. And then God lets us know on the 14th day, that's when you're gonna kill the lamb in the evening time, right? So we figured that out to be March 21st based off that information that we just went over. So if we go to Numbers 33, it says, and they departed from Ramesses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month. So that means we're no longer in Nisan 14. Now we're in Nisan 15. So Mr. Camping wanted to see why God was highlighting that they left on the 15th day of the first month. And he believes it was because God was showing that there is the solar calendar intertwined in the Bible, not just the lunar calendar. So just because God says Nisan 14 or Nisan 15, he's using the lunar calendar because Nisan is a month, part of the lunar calendar, right? But in this case, he showed how he believes God also uses the solar calendar. And we'll show that in just a moment. So if we just look on the calendar for 1447 BC, we have our date of March 21st. So this is Nisan 14, and actually part of Nisan 14 would also fall on this next day, right, until sunset. So, but God lets us know it was the 15th day. So part of March 22nd falls on Nisan 15. So we just read that it was the first month, the 15th day of the month, on the morrow after the Passover. So God is letting us know Passover is finished. This is the 15th day. And this is when they actually leave Egypt. It was March 22nd. So March 21st, that was the evening of Passover. God brought the plague. And then March 22nd was when they left. Now, he wanted to kind of see how this all connects. So going to Joshua, we learn that there's another Passover that occurred in the book of Joshua. Oop. Right here. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. All right, now the reason why that's interesting is because how many years after the Exodus would this event have occurred? Do you know by any chance? Based
40?
off the timeline. Yeah, 40 years. Yeah. We can prove that.
And look at Joshua 5:12. It said they ate of the corn, the word Abib, like you were saying.
Yeah, the corn of the land, yeah. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years until they came to the land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came into the borders of the land of Canaan. So if we know the Exodus was in 1447, 40 years later, we're in the year 1407. So just think about that for a second. They just had Passover on March 21st in 1447, and now they're just about to celebrate Passover again 40 years later in 1407. So in other words, that's 40 years to the day based off the lunar calendar. That's Nisan 14 that they celebrated Passover. And then 40 years later, in 1407, when they cross over the Jordan River, they celebrate Passover again. And that's also Nisan 14. That's just the lunar calendar. That's an exact 40 years to the day based off the lunar calendar. Remember, that's what they follow. Nisan is a lunar calendar month. Now, what Mr. Camping was trying to discover was, could we somehow tie in the solar calendar? This would be the calendar that we use, like the Gregorian calendar. Has God also used that calendar in the Bible? We know he's used the lunar calendar. He mentions lunar months all the time. Abib, Er, Ziph. So what he did is he looked at this verse in Numbers 33. And they departed from Ramesses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month. So just out of curiosity, he wanted to see, well, first, if you do this same calculation, we get March 21st for Passover in 1447. If we go to 1407, we get March 29th for Passover. Right? So that's a diff.
And look at in step 6, just 2 days off in terms of the solar lunar synchronization.
So after 40 years, yeah, exactly. It's only needed a 2-day shift there. But after 40 years, 40 years later, Passover went from March 31st to March 29th. That's a difference of 8 days. The difference of 8 days that Passover changed, right? I'm not talking about here where the shift took place. I'm talking about from the previous Passover to this Passover. It's a difference of 8 days.
Right.
Now what he noticed is he's like, all right, let's plug this in, because he knows 40 years later, Passover is about to occur, right? And God is highlighting the fact that they left Egypt on the 15th day. So if we go back to our calendar, go to 1447.
Has a link of a video that very briefly kind of explains
Who is that?
How the Earth and the moon revolves around the sun, which can help us understand like that offset, like about where it could be 2 days all the way up to 20.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's if you want to understand the whole mechanism behind it.
And the audience, if folks are participating on this, does anybody feel comfortable enough to be brave enough to raise their hand to either ask a question or summarize what they're seeing? Or do you all feel like we need to circle back to this every couple?
Yeah, if anyone has a question, they can raise their hand, and if there's a part that they're just not clear about, we can go back over it. So we're going to compare these 2 different years. We got March 1447, and we also have March of 1407. Let me just close something here. Picking up space. Oops.
I think we should do a pop
You
quiz.
can still hear me, right?
Yeah, just a little bit off. It could be my laptop, but yes, we can hear you. Okay, now I think you're frozen.
Just want to make sure.
Audience,
you can still hear me?
can you confirm?
Nope.
Yeah, I think we lost Carl.
Yeah, I don't know. Is that my connection?
I hope it's not mine.
Let's see.
I think
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. But audience, could you just give a thumbs up or raise a hand?
Okay, good.
If you feel like you're able to digest some of this, or if you feel that perhaps we might need to take a break and just kind of digest everything and then do like a recap of what we just learned and then move forward.
Yeah, if there's any questions that anyone has
from the audience.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. They can, if any questions come up, we can go over it. But
yes,
let's plug this.
You're digesting. Very good. Very good.
Okay. We'll plug this in and we'll see what we get. So again, now the shift is, now we're going to focus on the solar calendar. We're going to see if the Bible does allow for a solar calendar or if it's kind of interwoven. Okay. So am I still fine? You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So March 22nd is that date that they left Egypt. March 22nd. Now we're going to go to, right, we're doing a calendar compare. So we're in the year 1407 over here, and we're in the year 1447 over here. So this is 40 years later. And we'll see that Nisan 14 is on the 21st. 40 years later, Passover is on March 29th. Right? So this is 40 years to the day using the lunar calendar. Nisan 14, Nisan 14. Okay.
I have a
Next
dumb
one.
question, Carl.
Yeah.
What are the shaded numbers with the, are these, wait, what are those shaded numbers on both calendars that I see above? What do those represent?
Those are just everything before the year started. So the year started on March 16th, Nisan 1.
And,
Yeah.
and in 1447, the year started on the 8th on the other side of the calendar there.
Yeah, yeah, on the 8th, yeah.
Okay.
So,
That's just another reset of the year.
yeah, because remember, Nisan 1 is going to change because the Gregorian and the
That's
lunar aren't. Yeah.
right. Thank you.
perfectly matched up.
I just didn't know what that meant and I didn't want
Yeah, no worries. So you can see visually here that we're on the same exact day, Nisan 1314, and over here we're on Nisan 1314. That's when Passover begins, and then it goes into the second day. Same thing over here. So lunarly speaking, this is 40 years to the day, but
Gotcha.
Gregorianly speaking, this is March 21st, but over here it's March 29th.
Right.
That's an 8-day difference. So Mr. Campion wanted to see if the Bible does. So let's plug it in, right? So March 21st. So we had calculated that March 29th is an 8-day difference from March 21st.
Question, Carl.
Yeah.
The 8-day difference. That's not the 11 minutes a day that we're off with the leap years every 4 years. This is something
Mhm.
totally different, right?
Yeah, this is just based off the movement of the sun and the moon. It's not like that every year.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not anything to do with leap years and every 4 years we need to make adjustments. These are just two
Yeah, we're not using any leap years in
these are
this
just
math.
two different cycles that are
Right.
needing to be regulated between. We do have a hand.
Right. Yeah.
Somebody hand. Who's that? Miss Miriam. Yes, please go ahead. Miss
Yeah. Hi, guys. So just to reiterate, the 21, 22 of that month, and tell me the month's name again, 40 years to the day is the other 29 and 30 on the other side on the 1407.
Right. Yes.
Okay. And what are the month's name again? I'm sorry.
The month is Nisan. That'd
Okay.
be Nisan 14 of
Okay.
1447. So this is the day they celebrated Passover. And then exactly 40 years later, we arrive on Nisan 14 in 1407.
Okay.
That's when
Thank you.
yeah. And the Bible lets us know this occurred after they crossed over the Jordan River, this Passover. So Mr. Campion wanted to see about the solar calendar. So let's work through that now, right? So our end goal is to see if it matches up. So March 21st is an 8-day difference from March 29th. Okay. So they leave Egypt. God's highlighting the 22nd, March 22nd. Now, if we go to Joshua chapter 1, and just bear with me, try to put this together as easy as
Take your
possible.
time. And thank you, Mrs. Miriam, for that question. And if anyone else feels comfortable enough to say, I don't get any of this.
It's okay. Yeah, it's not. It took me a while to kind of work through it. So Numbers 33, we were just there. And this tells you all the journeyings of all the encampments, right? And finally, say they departed from this place and they arrived here. They departed from this place and they arrived here. So that's like all the encampments. Well, finally, you get to this last encampment, and you were asking when Aaron died. Well, this tells us right here. It was in the 40th year, the first day of the 5th month. So that lets you know when Aaron died.
Wow.
Yep.
That's interesting.
I have to figure out what the Gregorian date is for that. However,
Not to mention, Carl, someone could actually count how many times they departed and how many times to see if there's any spiritual numbers involved with that.
yeah, I think Mr. Campion had went over that. So finally, we get to this last encampment right here. Let's see. And so here, pitched in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho. and they pitched by Jordan. So they're not there at Jordan yet. They're pitched. So this would be their final, basically, encampment before they lodge at Jordan. So they pitched at Jordan. And remember, we're very close to Passover because as soon as they cross over the Jordan River, they're about to celebrate Passover, right? So they pitched by Jordan from Beth Shemesh even unto Abel Shittim in the plains of Moab. And Jehovah spoke unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, so that just lets us know that that's their final encampment because they're very close to Jordan. So then we know, just keep that in mind, Abel Shittim. We're going to go to Joshua 3.
You have a question.
We'll get to that in just a second. I just want to make sure I don't lose this train of thought.
Abel
And
Shittim.
Joshua rose early in the morning, and they removed from Shittim. Now, before we saw it was called Abel Shittim, and came to Jordan. So that was their last encampment, and he and all the children of Israel and lodged there before they passed over. So we have this idea where we're going to plug in March 21st into this to see if we can go and land on the next Passover, right? And see if it fits lines with the Bible. Because we have this theory that this is happening on March 22nd. And so in order for this theory to hold true, we need to go 8 days later and make sure it lands on Passover for that year, March 29th. Right? So we realized earlier that they left Ramesses on the 15th day. We figured that was March 22nd. So Mr. Camping is now going to go exactly 40 years later, March 22nd of 1407. So we're here, the 22nd, and he's going to see, all right, let's see if this works. Let's go 40 years later. This is the solar year now, the solar calendar. And we're going to go to March 22nd of 1407. That's right here. We're going to see if it fits with the Bible to do this. So we're on March 22nd. Now we go back to Joshua. And Joshua rose early in the morning. Okay. And it came to pass after 3 days that the officers went through the host. So he pointed out that when it says after 3 days, it's really better understood as at the end of 3 days.
Right, like
In other
3
words,
full days.
yeah, so that would include the day they actually get to Jordan. Because remember, they removed from Shittim and came to Jordan. This happened on the same day because Abel Shittim's not far from Jordan. This isn't a long journey. You can figure that from the Bible. It's a very close place. It says they were near Jordan. If you go back to Numbers 33, I think it says, and they pitched by Jordan. See? So they're very close there. So if we're on March 22nd, it says after 3 days. So we're going to go back to the calendar.
It was like a 5-mile journey, maybe 10 miles.
Yeah, it was going to be done in one night, and it says they lodged at Jordan for 3 days. You see that? And they came to they rose early, moved from Shittim, came to Jordan, and lodged there before they passed over. So that's letting us know that they're about to encamp there. And it came to pass after 3 days, the officers went to the host, and they commanded the people, saying, when ye see the ark of the covenant of Jehovah your God, and the priest and the Levites bearing it, then shall you remove from your place and go after it. And he's just giving, some commands. Yet there should be a space between you and it, about 2,000 cubits. Okay, so we're going to go back to the calendar. And if they're here, this is the first night of encampment. They leave Abel Shittim. They arrive on the 22nd. Oops. Let me go back to 1407. All right. Okay, they're here on the 22nd. So that's 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. This would be the third day. This is March 24th. And that puts us on Nisan 8/9 for the Hebrew lunar calendar. Now we come back here, and Joshua said unto the people, sanctify yourselves, for tomorrow Jehovah would do wonders among you. All right, well, if this was that third day that it came to pass at the end of 3 days, the tomorrow would be the 25th, right? The 25th. And Joshua spake unto the priest, saying, take up the ark of the covenant and pass over before the people. So if you read the rest of this, they finally make it over Jordan. And the Bible lets us know, it goes into detail about the whole process. And then finally, and it came to pass when all the people were clean passed over Jordan, that Jehovah spake unto Joshua, saying, take ye 12 men out of 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe, a man. And then let's see. It lets us know the day that they crossed over. Right here. And it came to pass, and the people came up out of Jordan on the 10th day of the first month. Now we just reasoned that they crossed over Jordan on March 25th, right? We had the assumption. Yeah, I mean,
days. Yep.
after 3 days, and it says on the morrow you're going to cross over. So we were assuming it's March 25th. And guess what? What does that land on? Nisan 9:10. Where we just read, and it came to pass that people came out of Jordan on the 10th day of the first month. So it aligns because that's also the 10th day. That's Nisan 10.
Gotcha.
The first month, 10th day. So it fits with this idea that he had where, why is God highlighting March 22nd in 1447? Let's go exactly 40 years later. Let's see if it'll match up. Because our end goal is to see if it'll land on Passover in that next year. I mean, in 1407, right? So the Bible's confirming we're on the right track because this happens to land on Nisan 10, the 25th. All right. And then finally, we get to chapter 5. And it lets us know, and the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month, even in the plains of Jericho. So they already made it over. And so if this is Nisan 10 and we know Passover is always on Nisan 14, then that lets us know, okay, 4 days later, 1, 2, 3, 4, they celebrate Passover here.
Ah,
right. So it lands on Nisan 14. Now, if you did this with April 10th, remember how we said you can make that shift back in the Exodus? You either go March 21st or you go to April 10th.
meaning
Well, if you did this, it wouldn't line up this way. I tried it.
okay.
It would have them crossing over all those events happening after Passover or something like that. It just doesn't align. So this way it aligns with the solar and the lunar doing it this way.
Very good.
And remember, we calculated Passover to land on the 29th in this year. And it just so happens that exactly this is 8 days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So God is highlighting those 8 days in the book of Joshua where that whole event transpired.
And he gave Bible verses to help us, to guide us, that we could search and get little data points, checkpoints to let us know.
Yeah, now there's one last thing I'll point out because he didn't mention this, but I thought was interesting. Was in verse 11 it says, and they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover. You see what God's doing there? He's highlighting the morrow after Passover again. Remember he did that with the Exodus? They celebrated Passover and they left on the morrow after Passover. So here, for some reason, God is mentioning the morrow after Passover. That would have been Nisan 15, because Passover is on Nisan 14. So that would be March 31st. And what happened on March 31st? Do you remember anything significant in the Bible that happened on a March 31st?
It was when Christ was
In the garden, right?
yeah.
So we started from the garden. We started from March 31st. We went all the way backwards to 1447, and then we went to 1407. And it's just interesting how God is highlighting the day after Passover, which would have been March 31st. That's the same exact solar day where Christ was in the Garden of Gethsemane. So it almost feels like a time loop. But we actually started with March 31st. We went back to the Exodus to March 31st. Then we went forward to March 22nd. We went forward 40 years to March 22nd. Landed on the 29th, and somehow we ended back on a March 31st.
Pointing forward to the next Passover.
Which means, Gregorianly speaking, March 31st, exactly, I think there's exact from 1407 to the cross is exactly 1,440 years. I think if we count inclusive. And that's kind of interesting because that means from March 31st of this year, exactly 1,440 years later, Christ was in the Garden of Gethsemane. So that's an interesting date, is March 31st. Now it keeps going though.
Does 1440 break down into anything or no?
Oh yeah. It can break down. These are its smallest factors. 2 times 2 times 2. By the way, I'm going to release this sometime, but you can break down any number. You type it in here. This is like the 5 times 10 times 17 for 722,500. So any number you put in here. I didn't realize that. It's also a perfect square. 850 times 850.
Oh, I love perfect squares.
Well, what's interesting about the number 850 is that's how many prophets of Baal there were. You had 400 prophets of the Grove, and then
Yeah.
you had another 450, and that would equal 850. So I wonder, I never noticed that, but it's exactly doubled. 850 times 850.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, it definitely breaks down. So that's interesting. Now the passage keeps going. I don't know how much longer we can go over this, but
Times 5, I think, is 85 too, right? Let me think.
times what?
13 times 5.
Yeah, 13 times 5 is actually 65.
So it's what, 17 times 5?
17 times 5. Yep, 85.
Nice.
So then again, you could actually just keep walking through this passage because we have that last date we're on, March 31st. So if you keep going, it says, and they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover. So we know that's March 31st. Unleavened cakes and parched corn in the self same day.
Yeah, if you don't mind, let's see if we can have Vincent ask his question.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Vincent. Oh, let me unmute him.
Hi,
Hey, how's it going, Vincent?
pretty good, thank you. I was wondering, like, okay, May 21st, 2011, that was the second month, the 17th day of the Hebrew calendar. So wouldn't that be like same reference?
Yeah, but we would just have to what so Carl,
Can you say it one more time? Can you say that
we
one more time?
tie-
I didn't.
can we tie May 21, 2011 to Passover? Or is May 21, 2011 a different harmonization with another time?
Yeah, well, we used Passover to discover that in the year 2011 to discover that May 21, 2011 was the 722,500th day.
Hmm.
Yeah, you can figure that out.
Yeah, but it was it was the second month of the 17th day of the Hebrew calendar, right?
Right. Yeah, like if you want to figure that math out, I think we went over this before.
That would be Noah's calendar, and Carl, that would be a celestial sun calendar that
Well, see, Noah's calendar is a little tricky because it appears to be 30-day months in
right.
his calendar. And as far as we know, God says that they came out in the month of Bib.
Mhm.
And God established that as the new calendar. So ever since the Exodus, we've been following that Hebrew calendar. Even to this day, it's still followed, even though they have their postponement rules, which throw it off a bit some years. It's to this day it's still followed. But Noah's calendar was done away with. I mean, I shouldn't say done away with, but
Who was established
it was established before the Exodus. But yeah, there's some interesting things like Mr. Camping had been looking into the 7th month. God ties in the 7th month, which is Tishri, as being the end of the year. And so he was but we're that's something that we can go over maybe sometime down.
we already took a big juicy bite.
Right.
We already
No,
took a big juicy bite of this stuff, which is really helpful.
But this is it. This gets interesting. We haven't really got past this point, so I want to see if we can make a little progress with.
If possible, let's do a
Yeah.
recap, God willing, and then proceed a little further, if possible.
Yeah.
So we've come to the end of our time.
Okay.
Vincent, if you don't mind, do you mind praying and closing us out, sir?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for a blessed Sunday and for rejoicing our heart and teaching us using e-Bible Fellowship as a instrument to direct us into scriptures and to learn
thy magnificent, brilliant mind of the Bible, which is infinite character and amazing and trustworthy. And for correction, thank you. And also chastisement, which we definitely need it. Help us to be faithful and to lift each other up by scripture here and pray for each other more and more and e-Bible fellowship. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, everyone. May the Lord richly bless you. And we hope to circle back again and touch base on the timeline. Thanks, Carl. That was really good.
Yep, you're welcome. Yeah, we'll try to pick up next time, and we're gonna start the next program hopefully soon.
Sure.